Hello subscribers and watchers, welcome back again to another episode of multitasking in Android. It's me, Saidalia, who has heard from Computer Science for Self-Taught, and these tutorials are the continuation of our previous tutorials that I've already talked about multitasking, about threads, handlers, message queues, loopers, and all those things. If you jump suddenly to this video, make sure that you watch my previous tutorials which were about threading in Android, how to use threads to execute tasks which take longer than 16 seconds and how to execute them in the background. So now we will talk about AsyncTask in Android. AsyncTask is another way that you can execute tasks in the background, but it is one of the most superior way of executing tasks in the background rather than using threads and handlers and loopers. In this tutorial I'm gonna dig further about AsyncTask, about their properties, limitations of it. So let's continue. These are the contents that I have provided for you, dear subscribers, and these are the topics that I'm gonna talk. What is AsyncTask, helper methods of AsyncTask class, architecture of AsyncTask, creating how to create AsyncTask, and limitations and how to use AsyncTask. After that we will have a simple demo in Android Studio. You will see how to work with AsyncTask. You can use AsyncTask to implement basic background tasks rather than using threads to do that for you. So this is the main thread which is doing its work. Draw task, you must give that task which takes longer time, give it to the worker thread, to the background thread. So the background thread will execute that for you, and after it has finished it will update the UI. But in the AsyncTask you will have a method as the name of doInBackground which executes your task in the background, and after it has finished task it will return to the UI by using the postExecute method. There are certain methods also inside AsyncTask that I'm gonna tell you in the next slide. So let's go to another slide. We will see what is there. Over are the two methods inside the AsyncTask class. One is doInBackground and another one is onPostExecute. The doInBackground method runs on a background thread and all the work to happen in the background. If you have a task and it needs to be completed in the background, so you must use the doInBackground method of AsyncTask to do that for you. And after the doInBackground finished the task and it returns the task to the onPostExecute method. This is the method which will be called after the doInBackground has finished its job. The onPostExecute, it runs on the main thread when the work done from the doInBackground. You can also process the results in here and also publish the results which have been returned from the doInBackground to the UI. So the doInBackground is a thread and you must do all of your work inside this method. And the onPostExecute, it mainly runs on the UI thread, on the main thread. So you can update the UI or you can get the task when it gets completed from the doInBackground to update the UI by using this method. So another two AsyncTask helper methods are onPreExecute and onProgressUpdate. The onProgressUpdate runs on main thread and the onProgressUpdate also runs on the main thread. Before giving the task to the doInBackground method, you must call the onPreExecute to set up some task before give it to the background thread. Some initialization or modification of the task that you want to give it to the doInBackground method. And another method is onProgressUpdate. The onProgressUpdate also runs on the main thread and it receives call from the doInBackground by calling publish progress inside the background thread. For example, if there is a task that you have given it to the doInBackground, so you have to make sure how much of the task is completed. So you cannot call directly onProgressUpdate inside the doInBackground, but what you need to do is call the publish progress inside the doInBackground method to pass the value or call the onProgressUpdate. If you're still confusing, don't worry too much about it. I will work out a nice example in the next video on Android Studio how to use AsyncTask and also their method. Just bear with me. I'll promise to you guys I'll make things simpler so you can grasp the concept. So this is basically the structure of AsyncTask. As I've told you, the AsyncTask class has four methods. One is onPreExecute, which is executed on the main thread before the doInBackground is called. After the onPreExecute has finished, doInBackground will get called automatically. This method runs in the background thread, which is nothing a worker thread. And if you want to update the UI from the background thread, so you must call the publish progress inside the doInBackground method to update the UI. Then the publish progress pass the value from the background thread to the onProgressUpdate to update the UI. And the onProgressUpdate will run on the UI thread and it will update the UI. And after the doInBackground has finished the task, so it returns that task to the onPostExecute. That task may be an image that has been already downloaded, so that task must be returned to the onPostExecute so that you can get the final version of the image that has been downloaded from the internet by using the background thread. So these three methods are running on the main thread of the UI thread. Only the doInBackground will be run in the background thread, because the doInBackground is where you put your work to be completed. So how you can create an async task? First, create a class and extend from AsyncTask class, okay, and provide the data type which will be sent to the doInBackground method. The doInBackground is where it will store the work in the background by using the thread. So you must provide data type of progress unit for onProgressUpdate, because while the image is downloading from the internet, you have to know how much of that image is completed. So you can provide the data type to the onProgressUpdate to update your UI or the data type that you have set for the onProgressUpdate, and also provide the data type for the onPostExecute. onPostExecute is the method which will be run on main thread, and it has the completed image that has been downloaded by the doInBackground method. doInBackground will pass the work that has been completed to the onPostExecute. onPostExecute has the final work that has been completed by the background thread. And also create the subclass of AsyncTask inside the class as an inner class. So this is the basic structure. First, specify its modifier as private, so it cannot be accessed from this class, and then the name of the class will be MYASYNCTASK, and extend it from the AsyncTask class. So these are the three parameters which are basically called params. The first one is the params. This is the type of data that you want to give to the doInBackground. This is the work that you want to be completed, or it may be the address of an image, video, or other things that you need to be downloaded by using a background thread in the doInBackground. And the integer is where you want to know how much of that image or file has been downloaded by the doInBackground. So this integer is a type parameter for the onProgressUpdate. And the bitmap is the result where the task has been completed by the doInBackground, what it will return. So you specify the type of doInBackground as bitmap, because it is downloaded an image which is of type bitmap, so now it must return it to the onPostExecute. So this is how you can create an AsyncTask class. So this is a basic definition of AsyncTask class, and the first parameter is a string because you want to do some work in the background, and you specify the type of doInBackground method as a string in here, and the onProgressUpdate integer because you want to update your UI by using some integer value, and the onPostExecute is where you have the image that has been downloaded in the form of bitmap. String, it could be query, URI or file name, percentage that has been completed by your background thread, and bitmap, an image to be displayed after it is downloaded by using the doInBackground from the internet. And if you don't want to pass anything, so you can also use void if no data pass. Make sure that you use the void in this format. The first character should be big V, not a small v, otherwise it will not work. There are 4 parts of AsyncTask that I've already told you: onPreExecute, doInBackground, publish progress, and onProgressUpdate, and onPostExecute. So the description of each of these methods are given in here. You can pause the video, you can read them by yourself. So there are 5 rules of using an AsyncTask. The AsyncTask class must be loaded on the UI thread. I mean, it must be initialized on the main thread. The task instance must be created on the UI thread, and also if you create the AsyncTask object, it must be inside the main thread, otherwise it will not work. Do not create the instance of the AsyncTask class in the background thread, and call the execute by the instance of AsyncTask on the main thread, and it must be invoked on the UI thread. Do not call onPreExecute, postExecute, progressUpdate, and doInBackground manually. The task can be executed only once. An exception will be thrown if a second execution is attempted. If you call the execute method from another object or from another on-click button, so an exception will be thrown. Okay, this is how you can create an instance of AsyncTask class. First, inside the button that you have registered with your button, you get the string and then put it inside a query. Then create an instance of AsyncTask. If you have created a constructor that takes a parameter, so you must pass its parameter and call the execute method. And if you have another method like this and you call the new AsyncTask.execute, an exception will be thrown, as I've told you earlier. So these are the limitations of AsyncTask. While you are using AsyncTask to download an image and it is not completed, and suddenly you rotate the screen, so at that time the activity is destroyed and the async task cannot connect to activity anymore, and new async task will be created for every configuration you do with your screen, and the old async tasks are stayed around, and in this case the RAM may be big with old async tasks and your app may run out of memory or it may crash. So when to use the async task? You can use the async task to short or interruptible tasks, the task that needs to be completed soon. And you may say that, so what is the difference between thread and async task in here? You have already told us that use threads for tasks that do not take much time, and also do not use async task for the task that takes much time. Async tasks are the most super way of using background thread, and if you want to do some tasks which takes longer time, you're welcome to use services in this case, because the services have higher priority and it will not be terminated by the end write. If you use async tasks or threads to do the task for you, if the RAM, your phone may run out of resources, the Android may terminate these async tasks and thread, and lower priority tasks that can be left unfinished, use async task loader otherwise. So you can use the async task loader otherwise. We will also talk about async task loader after a demo that I will create for you in the next video. We will also see how to use async task loader when we rotate the screen of our phone. The previous async task will not be taken away, so it will be used again. So this is it, guys. I hope you like what you watched. In the next video I will dig further and I will show you how you can use async tasks to update your UI, and I suggest you to use async tasks rather than threads, because if you use threads you have to use handlers, loopers, and run on UI trace and many more other things. So if you guys find this tutorial a little confusing or something, well, bear with me. We will be talking about this with the help of real example in the next video where I will work things out. For now, just try to understand what's going on basically. So the next video, have fun learning. Don't forget to subscribe, give us a thumb up if you like this video, and share this video with your friends. Have fun learning. Peace out.